Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna walk you through. I just got off from my Nexus interview, and there's a lot of things that I learned, so I figured I would go ahead and share it here because it's been such an experience for us, and it's a very important thing for when you're traveling, especially as North Americans. So this video especially is for my fellow Canadians and Americans who does have access to the Nexus program. If you don't know what that means, it's basically fast track for crossing between US and Canada mostly, but also when we are traveling at the airport to any of those countries and internationally. So we get TSA pre-check as well. So that means we bypass the security lines when we're traveling at the airport, as well as when we're crossing the border from Canada to the US and vice versa. Once I get my card, it is valid for 5 years, so I am able to use that in any of those transportations and bypass the security checks or TSA, or I have a faster line for it, not bypass it. So it is a faster line. I can't bring anyone who isn't Nexus either, so when I am traveling with the girls who don't have it yet, then I do still have to line up at the regular line with them. But it does mean, if I'm traveling alone or with my family who did get it with me, then we wouldn't have to line up like an hour or two. We could, be there a little bit later and spend those precious times doing something else. Process-wise, is when I think is what I think is more interesting for a lot of people. If you're wanting or thinking about getting Nexus, and most likely if you got to this video, then you probably have done a bit of research already. So first things first, we applied in October of 2023, and it is now October of 2024, so it is a full year process. The application itself is not too long. They ask for your basic information, whether you've and a couple, like maybe 5 bullet point type of questions, where it's like whether you've been convicted, whether you've been fined whenever you crossed the border or in the airport at some point, things like that. But you do all of that online, and then you put in your, of course, travel information like your passport, proof of citizenship. Even permanent residents can avail of the Nexus, no problem. Just need to provide your proof of permanent residence as well. I don't remember how much we paid because it's such a long ago, but I will put it up here. If you have a TD card, TD travel card for any of my fellow travelers here in Canada, then you also get a rebate for it, and it is valid for 50 years, so it's about $10 per year. I can shell that out if you're saving 2 to 3 hours every time at the airport or even at the border. Tip, if you do have kids under 18, is free. So if any of your kids are turning 18 pretty soon, just make sure you apply before then. You don't pay before the application, or you pay on the application during the application. So for example, for my brother, by the time we got his approval today, he's already 18, but because we made the application when he was 17, we didn't have to pay for it. When you do apply online, I'm going to put the website as well where you can apply. It details everything on there. Once you apply, it is just a long wait. It took 8 months before we got our confirmation that we have been conditionally approved, and then we could try to schedule for our interview. We got our interview invite in July, I want to say, or June. And then even the interview takes a while, like your scheduled interview. So even though it was July, we could only find the available slot in October. When my mom had hers, she couldn't even find a slot. It was all booked up. And so she had to wait and do it on I think she said first Monday or third Monday. That's when the slots open up. That's another tip. If you are waiting for your interviews, make sure you do it on the first Monday or the third Monday. That's when the slots open up. So book it there if you're having trouble finding your slots for your interview. But so it's 8 months of waiting to be conditionally approved, and then another 3 or so months to get our interview today in October of 2024. And then now it does say updated on my application is approved, so just 2 to 3 weeks to get my Nexus card. So it does have an interview, which I just did today. And it's a basic interview. You just get asked, why do you want it? Why do you need a Nexus? Do you still, and confirm the information because it's been such a long time, so they'll confirm, do you still live there? Do you still work where you said you would do? And how often you go? What's the purpose? Stuff like that. So very basic questions, nothing too crazy. It took about 10 minutes in total. But the very big tip is that if you are applying as a family and you do book an appointment, there are slots that are at the same time, because they're basically counters, about 10 or so counters, and then you just go up there and they ask you. It's not a room or anything, they just ask you. But if you are a family or you applied together, even though you get individual trusted traveler program accounts when you apply, you do go and interview together. So they don't have to ask you the same questions if you're applying for similar reasons anyway. So for our family, we all went up there. And even though my mom didn't have her appointment scheduled until December because we couldn't find enough slots, they were able to fit her in and interview her at the same time. So she didn't have to come back in December. The only thing you want to keep in mind is make sure that you do have all of the documents that are required. For a Canadian citizen, if you drive, you need a driver's license. If you don't, you put in your provincial ID or any type of ID, your citizenship certificate or citizenship card, any proof of citizenship on top of your passport. And for permanent residence, you need, of course, your proof of permanent residence and your passport and any type of provincial ID as well for Canada, or the state ID, any type of ID, stuff like that, where you live. Other than that, again, you go in, you get registered, they double check your information, and then you just wait until they call you up, and you go to the counter, you go all together, and that is fine. So if you do have different time slots, try. It's just not guaranteed, but try. In our experience, at least where we went, which is in Blaine, Washington, there is not too many people. In fact, our appointment was at 10:10 and 10:20. We were finished by 9:15. So if you're maybe applying around a similar area, or the place you're going to is not super booked up, then I would recommend that you bring your family with you, the people who applied with you, and just bring your papers with you, and then see. You'll be considered a walk-in, but because I think it's better for everyone involved, including the interviewers and the officers, then you can come in and you can get that interview. One other thing is you do get interviewed by two different people. So the first one is where you're entering to. So because I'm Canadian, we got interviewed by TSA. And then, the immigration US officer. And then they asked us the actual questions. And then we went over to the Canadian CBSA officer who explained us how everything went. You also do biometrics, so fingerprints and photo for your ID. So that took longer for us because there's 5 of us who needed to do that. But if it's just you, then maybe take 3 minutes to do all that plus the interview, and then the explanation by the CBSA officer of what you need to do when you have an Nexus, which is basically that you will get your cards in the mail 2 to 3 weeks. She made us read all of the rules, which is not too different than any other ones you do when you cross the border. You can bring stuff. The only additional ones is that you have to keep your information updated all the time. So if we change our driver's license and it expires for whatever reason and we change it, we have to go up again to that center in Blaine, Washington and submit the original one. Passports as well, we have to do that. Address and phone numbers you can change online where you apply. And then of course, when you get your card, so same thing with other regulations when you're crossing any border, anything more than 10,000, you have to declare it, no firearms, all that good stuff. If you travel often enough, you will know. And then when you get your card, because there's a family of us, she said, when you get to the border, you just fan your card. You don't have to do it one by one. You just fan it, you point it at a kiosk. You point it there, scans it, go up to the officer, and you'll be good to go. But really easy, really quick. The other thing is that when you do, if you are using Nexus at the airport, then she said, any domestic international flight, you just make sure that you flash your Nexus card to like security, and they'll get you on a fast time. That'll be easier. But yeah, that's the details for the Nexus interview. I hope that helps. If you found that helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, or comment down below for any other information that I really want to learn and continue learning, and make sure our travel is more enjoyable. Thank you. See you later.